that comprise the Ministry of the Public Service. I am Marianne Wood, the Acting Deputy Director of the Learning and Development Directorate, and I will be your moderator for this morning's session. With me is Mr. Anderson Kelman of Evergreen Associates, who will be your facilitator. Our time together this morning is about 1 hour. Mr. Kelman will take you through this very important information, and in the last 10 minutes or so, we will take some time to answer some questions. Any questions that you might have. So I encourage you to enable your chat feature, which is located at the bottom of your screen, so that you can type your questions in the chat box, which I will be monitoring all through the session. I'm going to ask Mr. Kelman just to share his screen with us now so that we can see, for those of you who like to see as well, so that you can see as we are having our discussion this morning.
All right, how does that look?
Just go to slideshow.
Okay, all right, beautiful.
So I'll continue. Start slideshow. Good.
All right.
So, of engagement, Mr. Kelman, just advance one for me. Good. We're asking you to your mic and your video have not been enabled, but we want to ask for your cooperation in a number of matters. Just in perchance that you realize that you have inadvertently enabled your mic or your video, we're going to ask you kindly just to disable them. That decreases bandwidth and it makes for a more optimum session. So we crave your indulgence this morning. We kindly ask that you pause or you minimize any distractions as much as possible. I know that you have a lot going on now, but try to focus on this presentation, reflect on your experiences, and participate as much as possible in the chat. And think about your experiences as we are going through this session. This helps to bring all of your information together and let you learn as much as possible. And finally, share what you learn, not only here, but with other colleagues and friends so that we get the maximum benefit out of today's session, sorry. So we're gonna talk a little bit now about our objectives for this morning's session. What is it that we're looking to achieve? By the end of this 1 hour session, we want you to be able to employ strategies to maintain a positive attitude when working from home. We know that that is critical. That's absolutely critical. We want you to be able to use tips to create a productive environment to working from home and to avoid the common pitfalls that persons encounter when they are working from home. And we know we are thrust in this environment with little planning, and we know that there are many distractions going on around, whether it's our shopping day, whether it's for those of us who have children, whether the distractions from children. So we want you to be able to just minimize those pitfalls. So as you think about our expectations that we have shared with you, I'm going to ask you to share in the chat box what you really expect to learn or to gain from this morning's experience. Just share what comes to your mind when you heard about this session, when you saw this session, some of the things that you said, yeah, I would like to get this from this session. I'll give you a minute or two. Ways of coping, ways of juggling, that's what Kim is sharing with us, good. Managing mental health and wellness whilst working from home, which coincides quite nicely with our objectives here. And Kathy Ann has shared how to effectively work from home, balance. Good, they're all coming in. And I'm sure that Mr. Kelman would address most of these in his session that he has planned this morning. I see somebody else here has time management. And if perchance that information is not shared, you can type your questions in the chat box. I will be monitoring the chat, the messages, and I will share with Mr. Kelman towards the end of the session. Creating balance and avoiding burnout. Good, excellent. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our facilitator for this morning session. He is Mr. Kelman from Evergreen Associates. Now, I'm not going to tell you about Mr. Kelman. He's best placed to do that for himself. So I'm going to turn the time over now to Mr. Kelman, and he is going to share what he wants about himself and take us through this morning's session. Mr. Kelman?
Thank you very much, Marianne. So good to be with you this morning in this engagement. I'm really looking forward to being able to have this very important journey with you. It's a journey because, you know, we are creating something that's new, and we're trying to formulate plans as we go along in terms of being able to effectively and efficiently work from home. Now, just a bit about myself. Well, I'm the director of Evergreen Associates. We are a group of professionals who are into people helping, and we offer a suite of services, including seminars and workshops. Also, we have individual and family therapists. We're also involved in responding to crisis. We have a number of professionals who focus primarily on issues of crisis. So we offer a wide range of services. In terms of myself, well, I've been involved in the employee assistance business for the last 2 decades, or more than 2 decades, in terms of providing these kind of services to public as well as private sector. And one of my huge areas of focus has been working with change and adjustment. And I've done quite a bit of work both here as well as regionally in terms of managing change and transition. Well, in recent time, I've been working, giving support to those persons on the front line in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, and also I've been supporting a number of companies across Barbados in terms of helping the employees to begin to create perspective in terms of working from home. So I come to you with that background, and of course I'm sure you're going to bring your own experiences to bear on this morning's engagement as well. I see a few names that I know. I see Tony and a few other persons that I know that are also in similar ways giving support. To Jessica as well, persons across the services. So I'm so glad to be with you as we continue this journey and as it unfolds. One of the things I want to say at the very outset of this presentation is that the adjustment process has been very steep. And I think Marianne was correct when she said that it has been thrusted upon us. You know, I know through the Ministry of Information Science and Technology, Innovation, Science and Technology, MIST, you know, they have been seeking to create these kind of platforms in terms of the technology where we can do business a bit differently. But I think that we've had an abrupt initiation into the whole process, in that you have the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent quarantine, which therefore has forced us in a very significant way to work from home. And so the adjustment has been very steep, and I'm sure that several persons, you know, are still probably trying to work through all that is involved in this adjustment process. Now, I need to say to all of us that change is never easy, and it oftentimes catapults us from our comfort zones. I know you are in the habit of maybe doing things in a particular way and particular systems, but now you're having now to create a platform. I mean, in terms of you have to create a way now of doing these similar functions using technology, and some persons are technologically averse. You know, there's some people who won't even go to the ATM machine. I know you have to use the very things that maybe you've been avoiding. So in terms of this adjustment, it has been very significant and very steep. But what compounds that, though, in terms of this whole working from home reality, is that everyone's at home. You see, it's not a case where you can work from home as I have done in the past, you know. But it's a train to school and you come at home, you have time and space for yourself. No, everyone is at home, and therefore that creates some unique challenges as well in terms of this whole process, because you have to manage your work, you have to manage yourself, and in many cases, as I've engaged persons with the recent time, you also have to manage your family and responsibilities, and then children. And someone shared that a little bit earlier in terms of managing children. Then it becomes even a bit more challenging in terms of this whole adjustment process. Now, I want to spend a few minutes talking about the issue of transition, and I believe that this is maybe one of the more critical concerns that persons may be having. Now, moving from A to B, A has been that which we have been doing from time immemorial. You know, we have our processes, we have learned them, we know them well, and so we feel a measure of comfort in terms of our function. Now, we're moving to B. Now, B represents working from home, or the new reality in terms of having to work outside of the office in terms of our own locations. Of course, as you know, we're on lockdown, and therefore, you know, we're working from within the context of our homes. Now, there's some persons who, as we move to B, see, B is where we want to get to, but we're not quite there as yet. So we're in this transition period. You see, what change does is that change elicits transition. Now, the change has occurred. I mean, the reality of it is that we really can't go to the office unless we are essential workers, you know, and working in a particular mode or frame. And therefore, the change has occurred. We have to stay home, full stop, you know. And therefore, we're now transitioning. And that transition oftentimes will create a sense of vulnerability. Vulnerability in that we have to learn some new skills, which maybe we are not, we learn how to be proficient at those new skills. Vulnerability in terms of maybe not understanding as quickly as others may want us to. Vulnerability in that we have a maddening sense of information and communication all rushing at us, and we're not sure how to prioritize, how to deal with it. And we're going to talk some more about that a bit later on. So it creates a kind of a vulnerable a space, and one of the things that's very important for us to understand, though, is that, you know, we have to take time to learn. Now, I'm sure you might say, but you know, time, we don't have a lot of time, which is true. But the reality of it is that some persons will learn at different rates, and therefore you create for yourself that support network, that support mechanism, you know, so you can learn and acquire the skills that become necessary at this juncture. And for some of you, you know, some of us, we might feel a bit stuck in terms of the loss of our ability to function at the capacity which you normally function at. And let me say to you, though, that you know, if we do it well in terms of working from home, you know, our proficiency will increase. So give yourself a chance to basically, you know, get to that place where you can do it with greater efficiency. So change will create an element of loss of what is known, and sometimes that may create a measure of grief. And I'm going to talk a little bit later the whole issue of escape conditioning, because one of the realities which we have to basically deal with and to change is even our own perspectives. You know, I've heard persons say to me, as I have engaged companies, that I just can't wait for this thing to be over. And maybe some people are saying the same thing as well. But I've constantly, you know, said to them that, you know, it is, yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic will eventually, that will become not as critical as it is now, and you'll probably begin to return to work, whether the phased approach or however it is done. But it will not be over in terms of the technology, in terms of where we have been over the last couple of days, and there's some important things you're going to learn that have so much, you know, possibilities for the future. And so one of the things that I've been enforcing and emphasizing is to avoid the escape conditioning phenomena and see it as learning for life, not just simply trying to make do until, but as learning for life, and therefore immersing oneself in this process and being able to move to a greater level of understanding and proficiency, not just trying to get by for the moment. I think that's going to be very, very important. And of course, you know, change also creates a threat to our own well-being in terms of stress. And it is different. It is new. Like I said, it moves away from our comfort zone, and so sometimes that can be very stressful. And how we manage that stress and that intensity of this new reality is going to be critical in terms of us being able to move forward. And I want to really, you know, reinforce the idea of us changing our perspectives, because that's going to become very important in terms of our own learning. You know, I'm one that have not always been very, you know, up with the technology, and I've had to get over that resistance in terms of technology so that I can begin to immerse myself. I mean, we have to move, as I may have said earlier, not sure if I said it, but we've had to move our entire church into a Zoom space, you know, and therefore, just many of you have had that awakening in terms of the use of technology. So it's an adjustment. It's a very steep one. It is one that will initially create some level of stress as you go through that whole learning curve. For some persons, it's going to be easier than others, you know, but for everyone, it's going to be necessary to be able to move to where there's some element of proficiency in the whole process of this new work from home reality. Now we have a question which we want you to respond to. You know, what are some of the positives of working from home? I would want you to you know, as you go to the chat, you know, what are some of the positives that you have, you know, already begin to realize and observe, you know, from work as work from home. And I'm going to share some which I've been able to glean as well, but I want to hear yours. I want to see yours in terms of what you see as the wins for you. And those wins could be you know, anything from you know, finances. You know, those wins could be being able to be in a your own space. So whatever your wins are from working from home.
There's a few there popping up, Mr.
Okay.
Calvin. I'm seeing
Right.
short commute, no traffic, flexible
No traffic.
hours. And this one is quite funny. I do not have to iron. I do not have to press.
But that one
anytime I save gas.
Yes, right. That one is important though, because you know, ironing, you know, might be something you don't have to worry about at this time. But certainly you want to to make sure that you get up and dress for the role, though, because that's going to be important. We'll talk about that as well too. But certainly I can see the earning part, you know. What are some of the positives of working from home?
No need for makeup, no interpersonal challenges, less stress to get public transport, a whole lot of popping up.
Oh man, that's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, but Marianne, it was in the makeup though, because if you go on live video, you may want
Yeah,
to still look your best, you know.
you
So
do,
you
most
may still want,
definitely.
yes, so someone to play a bit of makeup so you can, you know, maximize, you know, how you look in terms of the video chat, you know. All right. Well, let me just share a few of the ones that I've come with. Of course, this list is not in any way exhaustive, um, but it will speak to some of what you would have shared, I'm sure, in the chat. So loss of commute time, and I'm sure that that's a big one for many of us. The area where I live, and oftentimes I'm walking early in the morning, and I see lines of traffic, you know, of persons, um, and in some cases who sit for huge chunks of their day, you know, going to work and coming home, and of course, that's a loss of you know, productive time. So that element of being able to gain those few hours, maybe, you know, at the morning and the evening commute, you know, to your to your productive time is very useful. You know, of course, you know, and then if those of us who have small children, you have to box one and get the children and come back to the office. So that also increases that commute reality. So the loss of commute time, I think, is a big win in terms of working from home. Of course, you know, the decrease in fuel usage, which then, of course, will result in more disposable income, is another win. You know, I was really, you know, surprised at the amount of money that I normally spend in terms of my weekly runs up and down, you know, and I felt so relieved, you know, to be able to have gone to the gas station 2 weeks ago and have not gone back since. And the fuel gauge is still reading, you know, around half or so. So decrease in fuel usage, which then, you know, puts more money in our pocket so we can spend it. And we all need, you know, more money at this time for sure. You know, decrease cost of work. As one mentioned earlier, the issue of makeup, maybe the impact on clothing, maybe a bit less as you work from home. Of course, that will be realistic in the short term, but, you know, in the long term, you know, things like going to buy lunch and I mean, it will result in an overall decrease. We add that decrease in cost of work to decrease for usage. That should realize some kind of gain, you know, over the short and long term as well. And of course, reduce office distractions. And the fourth one, though, will surface again because, you know, at home there are distractions as well of a different nature and kind. But certainly we know that in some offices, you know, you're distracted by all kinds of things. You know, persons coming to your desk, want to borrow something, the phone ring incessantly, and we don't seem to have any much control of it at work because we, you know, so the office distractions that sometimes will hinder and, you know, affect our productivity, you know, at home. Those kind of distractions will not be there. So there's some definite wins though in terms of being able to work from home. Now there are some challenges too, and I want to give you another chance to record and some of those challenges which you are facing or have faced, in the chat. What are some of the challenges that you're finding in terms of being able to of working from home? Give me a few minutes to do that, and then we'll talk about how do we move forward. And while you're recording those challenges, I want you to feel free, though, if you have found any solutions, to also indicate those as well, because as I said, this is a very fluid situation. It's unfolding. We're learning new skills, and there's wisdom, in terms of the ability to share what we've learned. Many persons, your experiences will be very similar to others, and therefore we do have to reinvent the wheel, because if someone has found a way to manage some aspect of the challenge, then that may be useful learning for other persons. And that's one of the tools of change, though. One of the tools of change is the ability to share new learning, so as to keep everyone, in the same space in terms of their own growth and the development. So if you found any good techniques or tools for managing some of your challenges, please record that in the chat as well. That would be very useful, to do here today. Thank you very much.
Let me share some of the ones that I've recorded, Mr. Kelman.
Go ahead.
To sleep often. Keeping to a schedule. Some people say they procrastinate. Some people say other persons believe that they're available 24/7. And one that really resonates with me, not moving around as much as when you're in the office. So you see,
yes, physical stuff. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Yeah.
Yes. So those are some that I've recorded.
Yeah, excellent, Miriam. Thank you very much. And they're very, those challenges are issues that we have to be able to manage, because you're right. Some person think you're available 24/7, and not just in terms of work, but also family. And remember that the COVID-19 situation overlays this work from home. So like I said to you before when we started, that it is compounded with the fact that persons are now at home as well, and therefore it makes it even more challenging in terms of that work is pulling from us, and also our families are pulling from us as well. Our children are pulling from us. They want our attention, and because we're there, then they believe that they have a right to knock and come in, or to try to grab our attention for something. And so being able to manage that is going to be critical. Excellent, great. All right, I think we have recorded quite a number of them. And let me share a few that I've thought about. Now again, this is not an extensive list. And first we will add to what you would have, written in the chat. All right, now the issue of boundaries, I think that's perhaps one of the more significant challenges of working from home. In that, you had work and home, and even though you make your homework occasionally, you try to maintain some level of differentiation. Home represented sanctuary, a place to recoup and to get by your energies and your strength. So there was that measure of differentiation. Now the challenge is this, that once you work from home, then that boundary can become a bit blurred. And one of the things we're going to talk about a little bit later, fairly soon, is how do we maintain those boundaries, though, because that's going to be critical in terms of being able to have a sense of home still being home. And even as we observe this whole work from home, phenomena, this new reality, sorry, then, that this becomes a real major concern. How do we create some level of separation so that we don't feel ourselves working 24/7, or conversely, we do minimal work because we are more focused on the issues of maintaining our homes, and then we feel ourselves in a bit of a quandary in that regard. So boundaries is one of the major challenges. Of course, then there's a distraction of home. You see things that are out of place. Persons may call on the phone because they know you're home. We mentioned the issue of maybe the younger ones wanting some help, and that also becomes a concern even now as well, because with the younger ones being at home and they work being online, it means we have to find in our schedule some way of supporting them as well, that they get the work done and they're able to accomplish do their assignments. So there are lots of distractions that can emerge from being at home. Maybe even you pass by and see the kitchen, there's some words in the kitchen sink, or I mean, there are plethora of those distractions, which we have to be able to manage in a way that allows us time to work, and to get the job done. And then the challenge of the technology, and I think we all know that at times can go against us, and those of us who are now feeling our way around, with the new technologies, the new platforms, can find ourselves, struggling with reference to understanding and engaging the technology. And sometimes, we make one error in terms of we click the wrong button, and that can throw us off, and that's why I'm going to talk later about having, a good support network and making sure that persons find some mechanism for engaging with their IT personnel so that we can, reduce those technological, challenges as much as possible. Of course, like I said, it's a learning curve, and therefore we'll make errors, and those errors will also help us to learn, what we should not do as well. But technology can be a challenge, and some persons can become so frustrated they just surrender. No, I really want us to recognize that in time we'll achieve a level of proficiency at the technology. So let's stay with it. Once we learn it, then it becomes a tool in our toolkit for working. In terms of home, in terms of as we move forward and consolidate the gains that we've made during this time. So don't be afraid of technology. Someone said to me a few weeks ago, as I was beginning to transition the church to Zoom, the person said to me, this is a tech person, they said, listen, don't be afraid of the technology. It's there to be used. It will frustrate you, but understand that you can master it in time. So don't be afraid of the technology. And the fourth challenge is the intensity of working from home. And one of the real challenges is what we call, working to task and not to time. And psychology today, have created quite an interesting article about working to task and as opposed to working to time. What it really is that because we are at home, we have a task to be done, and we are so focused on getting it completed that we don't realize that, we are having a kind of a diminished, return in terms of our effort. We're probably get a bit stressed out, but it's still forced to get it done. Whereas if we took a little bit of time off, maybe just walk through the house, look through the door, look at our garden, and come back, maybe we can achieve it or accomplish it a lot faster. So the challenge there in terms of intensity really is taking short breaks, from the task, so you can refresh, rejuvenate, and come at it again, rather than trying to get it completed in one go and find yourself, taking maybe 3 hours to do something which maybe you could have done in an hour if you took some breaks just to kind of, reflect and refocus and come at the task again. So be careful with the intensity, because that can lead to immense stress with regards to the tasks that take breaks, because those are important in terms of being able to stay on point and remain effective in what we're doing. So here are some of the chat. I've written 4 of them, but I'm sure there are many others which we will see in the chat as we go along. All right, so how do I, take care of myself, given the challenges we just outlined in this new space of working from home? How do we ensure that we remain as healthy as possible, during this whole transition process? Now, someone raised this in the chat earlier with regards to the whole issue of how do I manage my stress, and I'm going to comment on that shortly. But let me just talk a little bit about, how do we manage ourselves or take care of ourselves. Well, the first important principle is to go easy on yourself. Now, I want to kind of emphasize this one in particular, because sometimes our perfectionism or desire to be able to be up and running in short time gets a hold of us, and it creates a kind of frustration that will cause some of us to abandon the new skills that we're supposed to be learning. And the truth of the matter is that the more we pressure ourselves, the more it's going to impact our ability to acquire the new skills and information. If we keep stressing ourselves and maybe be angry with ourselves because we're not moving as fast as we can, that in itself will slow down the process. So relax, go easy on yourself. It's a new process. We're learning different skills. We are using the interface of the technology to have those skills, to have those tasks completed, and therefore there is that element where we have to take care and understand that it's new learning, and new learning will oftentimes take some time. So relax. Go easy on yourself. If you're not getting it in the first instance, then maybe just sit aside for a few minutes and then go back at it. I recall trying to navigate around G Suite. That's the new platform for education. I facilitate some learning for a few institutions, and they're using G Suite. And I mean, there was just one step it was just missing. And that brought a level of frustration. But once I stopped and went back to it, I was you didn't do A, B, or C, and therefore, I mean, it has now become almost kind of second nature, because I was willing to go easy on myself. So go easy on yourself, please. Secondly, and I mentioned this one before, so I just want to kind of reiterate it, is develop a new perspective. And see this as the unfolding of a new normal. Of course, we will eventually, go back to work, I'm sure. Many of us, I'm sure. But recognize that what we've learned during this time, we can use it for the future. And so I mentioned the issue of escape conditioning earlier, and I just want to remind us all that the perspective is everything. And once you begin to realize that this is a time for broadening our perspective in terms of work and how work is done, then it's going to before us, the impetus to acquire and to assimilate, the new information, because we're going to start seeing it as a way of life, not just a get by in the short term, and that's going to be critical. Tell yourself, that this is not just simply for now, this is also for the future. And once we can see the value in it, then it's going to create a greater ease in terms of acquiring the requisite skills. So that's going to be very, very important in taking care of yourself. If you keep bemoaning what's happening and keep stressing on, I'm so glad when this is all done, you're going to find yourself struggling, and being more stressed out, because perspective is not where it needs to be. All right. Okay. Now the second important reality is to take care of ourselves, and this second point is very, very, very useful for us even at this time, though, that we honor our rituals. And by that, what I mean, and I use rituals and routine, is that we do the things that create for us the best space in which to function. So by that, I'm talking about, getting up time, or normal, what we call our normal circadian rhythm, or wake time or rest time. You want to maintain wherever possible. I say possible because one of the things that become critical is for us to be able to have some element of flexibility, but it's important to maintain those rituals wherever possible, because your body has grown accustomed to it. And you would all know that oftentimes when we go on vacation, the first few days we have to kind of get our bodies back into a kind of a space, vacation mode, they call it, and so we want to be able to honor our routines. If we normally get up at 7, and we maybe go walking, we can't go walking now, but maybe we can do a few stretches, at home, or we can maybe have a skipping rope, do a few reps of skipping. We shower at X time, have breakfast. Try to keep those rituals going, because your body has grown accustomed to it. Because sometimes one of the issues that we find that can impact our motivation for working at home is when our body gets out of sync. So let's say, for example, that normally you have lunch at 1, and by 3 or so, you're feeling, what we call that ethnic fatigue. Of course, some persons have other ways to describe it, but I call it ethnic fatigue. And so around 3 o'clock, that's not your most productive time. But you find yourself getting up later in the day because you're working from home, but because the body is so accustomed to feeling a little bit jaded around 3, you still feel a little bit tired around that time. And so you shorten your productive period of time where you can, do meaningful work. So honor those rituals. Someone mentioned the issue of ironing. Of course, you don't need to iron, but certainly dress in a way that says to your mind, you're going to work. That's very, 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 very important. And take those breaks during the day that are helpful for you recharging your batteries, so you can keep on point. So under the rituals and the normal routine, in terms that gives you the most productive time and space to function in. And I think that's one of the greatest challenges of working from home, because some people think we have a lot of time, or as someone said, we want to sleep more, and therefore we push our entire body clock off, and that impacts our motivation and certainly our productivity as well. The second important point on this slide is to create and maintain a schedule. I believe that second to the onion one's ritual is a maintaining of a schedule, because that is going to be critical with reference to us, allotting time for work and time for other activities and events, as well as time for our children in terms of helping them with their homework or responding to their need as well. And also it helps us to be able to create some level of consistency across the board for our communication with our colleagues, with those who are leading the teams, so they know what our schedule looks like, and where possible, we can be able to conform and to create that level of connectivity during those times. Of course, like I said, there must be some flexibility because each person's schedule may be a little bit different, but it gives you some idea, some kind of how we can meet together, given what I know of your schedule, what you know of my schedule, and that's very useful. Of course, what it does helps to create a balance as well too. And I think someone shared that at the beginning, in terms of what are some of the challenges of working from home and the issue of balance. And you don't want to allow work from home to degenerate into a 24/7 exercise where you're in front of the computer, the laptop, you're in front of the tablet, every hour of the day, and then your family suffers, your chores at home suffer, and you find yourself, stressed out and maybe even moving towards burnout as well. You don't want to do that. You want to create balance, and because work has come into our homes, balance is because difficult, but one has to maintain it if one's going to be able to manage their stress and stay functional and effective in the long term. And the third one, make time for fillers. This kind of emerged out of the second point of creating a maintenance schedule. And what this speaks to is what are the things that cause us to feel rejuvenated, that cause us to be refocused. What are the things that bring us joy? One of the things that I've found as I've made this engagement with several persons over the last few days, that persons like to do gardening. They go into their gardens outside or different sort of gardening, and for many persons, that tends to kind of create the top-up that they need, the emotional top-up, all right? But there may be other things you do as well. It may be, a good movie, connecting with your family and your friends. And let me say that's one thing one should always try to maintain, connection with those persons in your world that that you feel a level of you feel good to talk with, to make you laugh, to make you they crack a joke. So you want to make time for fillers, as a way to create and maintain balance, and don't see it as a chore, or don't see it as not being productive. That is a part of your productivity, that downtime, so you can keep the saw sharp, as Covey talks about. I mean, if you don't keep the saw sharp, then you're going to find yourself working hard. Like I said before, the law of diminishing returns will step in, and you're going to be taking you maybe 3 hours to do something. It take you half an hour if you had taken the time out to rest and to relax for a bit, and then go back at the task which is at hand. So you got to take care of yourself. I mean, we can only function effectively if we first take care of ourselves. And I know, of course, it may not happen for a while now, but when we're traveling on an airline, aircraft, they normally tell us that should cabin pressure fall, oxygen mask will come from the roof. Firmly affix your mask before trying to affix a dependent's mask, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't really take care of anyone else. Now, I know we're getting close to our question and answer, and I will just do 2 more slides, then I'm going to pause so we can determine how we move forward. Okay, Maintaining productivity becomes also an important aspect, and the establishment of a workspace, I mentioned that one earlier, and a lot for technical challenges. So if you're going to start working at, let's say 9, you go on about 8:45, so that if there's any technical, issues, you can have them sorted out without being under pressure, so you can maybe connect at the allotted time which you have established. All right, and the issue of children, that becomes a major challenge at this time in terms of working from home, and with the current quarantine, what do we do with our children? And I've made 3 suggestions. One, establish a play area where we can have different activities for the children if they're younger. The other ones are not be a problem because they may be too busy, doing their own stuff. But establish a play area with different activities so they don't get too bored. And of course, within your view, we can just glance around and see them. All right. In some cases, you can have a kind of a spouse sharing and the responsibility with the children, or even an older sibling, who takes turns or help you to manage the children. And where possible, you have to adjust your schedule because of the reality of maybe having to support your children in terms of their own work. So let me kind of just stop here, and maybe some burning questions. I don't know how we will proceed.
No, you have just one more slide, so you can finish that.
Okay, so go ahead and finish the last slide. Okay,
yes.
Great. Okay.
These are just answer indulgence. Maybe we'll go over like 5 minutes or so, but we're keeping good time.
Keep good time. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Marianne. All right, and then I call these the 5 sins of working from home. And the first one is not managing excuse me, distractions. And we mentioned before the number of distractions that can occur at home. And that's why scheduling is so important, so that we can deal with distractions by finding a space and place for them. So let's say, for example, our domestic chores. All right, well, we do those at X time during the day. All right, or let's say, someone calls on the phone. We'll call them back at X time. So distractions. And one of the things about working from home is that things that normally were not distractions become distractions, and also the fact that we are indoors, constantly during this COVID-19 reality, that also heighten the distraction as well. So finding a time and a place to manage those important aspects, which can become distractions if you don't manage appropriately or correctly. And then physically, yes, that's the big one. I keep reinforcing that we have to move. Don't stay locked at the computer, because that can lead to all kind of issues in terms of circulation. Move around, walk around the house, go into the yard, look around, but move. I mentioned before, I share with a group of persons who are working on the front line to make it fun. During your downtime, 4 of you can just do a few stretches, a few, maybe a few push-ups, something, to manage yourself in a physical way, because working at home, you don't have the luxury of moving from one office to the other, or walking down the stairs sometimes. And so you got to make sure you put that into your own schedule, that you take care of yourself physically. You have to move. We have to move. Yeah, and then of course relationships, and those involve both your personal relationships, because, like I said, the intensity of working from home can cause them to suffer, but also relationships at work as well, because ordinarily in the office you would have different people who have different roles. You have the mascot or the one who looks out for the others in the office. So you want to manage those relationships. And you want to connect with persons as well. Not just in terms of work, but also in terms of leisure and relaxation. So find time for both the work connections as well as the normal leisurely connections and relationships. Very, very, very important. And then communication. I said earlier that one of the major issues in terms of working from home is they're inundated with emails and text messages and WhatsApp, and so it can become overwhelming. And it's very, very important to prioritize your communication, to also create boundaries as well. Because someone sends an email at 12 midnight, doesn't mean you have to respond to it at 12 midnight. All right, so we've got to find a way to bring balance, to bring boundaries to the communication process, and we have to be very careful in terms of what communication is urgent and important from those that may be urgent but not important. So we have to prioritize how we deal with communication, how we respond to communication. What I will say though is that it is important to build a communication charter, even with reference to your work team, your work group, things like acknowledging receipt of communication of emails and being able to set some broader parameters for how we respond in terms of the time factor to communication. So it is important to establish a communication charter, that will help to create, for everyone, a kind of a working template for managing the communication, and also different channels of communication, what sort of information we can expect on different channels of communication. So those are critical. And then of course, managing our workspace. And I want to suggest that our workspace should represent work for us. So we try to create that, and I mentioned that boundary between where we work and where we play in the context of our home, and for me, keep those things separate. We see we're trying to build a boundary between work and between leisure, and so we got to manage our workspace so we don't take leisurely activity into our workspace and then take our work into our leisure space, and then again create issues with the blur of those boundaries. So it is very, very important to try to create a definite workspace where work is done there, and we make it where possible exclusively for work. So those are the 5 sins of working from home. Now I want to thank you for listening to the presentation, and I would want at this time to ask what are some of the takeaways from this engagement, and how will it be used? How can you use it in terms of your work situation? And then we're going to engage in a number of questions so we can respond to some of your specific concerns. Any key takeaways, and how will they be? How could you use them, in your neck of the woods?
Somebody noted the 5 signs of working from home that stood out for them.
Okay.
Balancing work and life. They see that as key. That was another individual. Making a schedule was something for another individual. And managing physically, getting up, moving around. Another person said creating a workspace and setting boundaries, particularly for their family members.
Mm-hmm.
And that came up more than once.
Okay. Important.
So some good points coming up here.
Yeah, excellent.
Easy on yourself, yes. So colleagues, if you have any questions, that you want to share in the chat, my goodness, feel free to do that now while we're waiting. I have 3 for you, Mr. Kelman. One question was asked earlier: should you expect the same level of output, more or less, when you're working from home or when colleagues are working from home?
I would say that it's moving, it's a moving target, so to speak. I think initially, as persons try to get accustomed to the technology, you may not have the same output. But I think that as we become more skilled and our dexterity improve in terms of managing the technology, I can see us getting the same output and maybe even greater than, down the road, because once we are able to return to some level of normalcy, school and those kind of things, I believe that some person will find working from home to be a benefit and to be far more productive than maybe going to the office on some days. So I would say that it increases in terms of productivity over the short term, but in the long term, we can see it becoming even a more productive mechanism than maybe even going to the office every day.
Okay. Another question that was raised: how do I handle stress when it is externally driven? In other words, when I get short notice with near impossible deadlines.
There needs to be 2 things. One, I think there needs to be some level of collaboration between the different teams in terms of what is fair and what is expected and what is not. And that's why I said earlier that the issue of the communication charter becomes important in working from home, so that the team understands, what are the boundaries you're going to set on the communication process. You really cannot expect that, you call a meeting, at some sort of unreasonable time. So having that charter will create a working space for everyone. That's one. The other thing I would say, though, is that stress is a normal reality in terms of working from home. Well, it's not a reality, full stop, but working from home, it can become even greater. And I would say the things we mentioned before, taking short stress breaks, moving away from the laptop, the computer, going outside, the computer window, breathing exercises, breathing deeply, as those persons would say in terms of emotional intelligence, being able to oxygenate our brain, breathe deeply, stretches, relaxation. Maybe you can just sit on your chair, stretch your feet and arms out and systematically, contract and release your large muscles. Those are all techniques you can use in terms of managing stress, and even music. Some persons may like certain songs or certain kinds of music that relaxes them. Then you go to that space and relax yourself with that music. So you got to find what works for you. And again, you mentioned fillers. Make it a part of your normative schedule. So you're giving there's output into your work, but there's also input in terms of what is kind of filling you up and keeping you focused as well. So finding that balance is critical. Excellent question.
My colleagues, our time is just about up. I see that you have some excellent questions in the chat. We'll find some way of getting some responses to you, but we have to honor our commitment. I know some of you have other commitments as well, so we are going to close here for now. I just want to ask Mr. Kelman if you have any concluding thoughts before we close off question and answers.
All I say is thanks to all of you for being a part of this engagement. I'm really excited, as you can tell by the prospect. I know that it's a steep curve for all of us in terms of learning, but I can see the phenomenal opportunities for growth and development which this will afford us. So thanks again. God bless you, and we look forward to our next engagement, as we can probably field a few more questions and respond to your specific requests. Blessings.
So from us here at the Learning Development Directorate, we want to say thank you very, very much for participating actively. You did so well in this morning's session. We hope that we were able to share with you some very practical tips so that you can put those in action as we go through this season that we're currently going through. I just want to say thank you to our host, Joanne Jordan, for making sure that we all could hear, because we had some individuals had challenges, everything that was going on. So on behalf of our director, Mrs. Faye Marie Brown, and our Director General, Ms. Gail Atkins, I say thank you, Mr. Kelman, for this timely and very important session. And I just want to wish everyone a very, very good day. Thank you again, and have a great day.